Have you ever stopped to think about how money actually moves from one person to another? We see the transaction happen, but we rarely consider the physics of the transfer itself. For most of our lives, we are taught to treat money like prey. We hunt for the right job, track down the next client, or chase a sudden market trend, trying to catch cash with our bare hands. Running after a moving target requires a massive output of your own physical and mental energy. You spend 50 hours a week sprinting, only to capture just enough to survive, leaving you exhausted with very little to show for the effort. Accumulating resources is not about running faster or hunting harder. It is a problem of structural engineering. Capital flows through markets following strict mechanical laws. Much like gravity dictating a river's path, money always travels along the path of least resistance. This diagram is a blueprint for these economic mechanics. We see a structured slope resembling a waterfall and a downward trajectory for resource flow. Ignoring the coins, the mechanism is clear. Income capacity depends entirely on the structural integrity of these red boundary lines. Water stagnates on a perfectly flat surface. To make it flow, you have to introduce a physical slope. Markets act the exact same way. To move capital, you must create a drop. Looking closely at the vertical axis of our schematic, we find the first variable in the machine, value. You cannot extract resources from a market if you offer exactly what everyone else offers. That is a flat plane. You have to possess a skill, a product, or an insight that is significantly higher in quality or rarity than the baseline. That vertical differential creates the gravitational pull, the potential energy, that forces a market to react. Sharpening a rare skill or refining an exceptional product builds the vertical height required to get this machine running. A steep drop alone does not equal a complete system. We have to look at the top edge of the structure. Looking closely at this horizontal axis, it represents our second critical variable, leverage. Imagine a 1,000-foot waterfall, but the water is restricted to a pipe the size of a drinking straw. The pressure is incredible, but the total volume of water actually reaching the bottom is microscopic. Leverage is the width of your channel. A highly skilled surgeon operating on one patient at a time has massive value, but zero leverage. If that same surgeon develops a medical device used in 1 million procedures simultaneously, they have widened the channel. Value dictates the speed of the current. Leverage determines the sheer volume of resources the system can handle at once. You can build an enormous reservoir of potential energy, complete with high value and immense leverage, and still see zero return if the system remains sealed off from the outside world. The text at the base of the diagram explicitly spells out the final rule of operation. It states that the transfer of wealth is always accompanied by the delivery of value. The entire mechanism hinges on those final two characters circled in yellow, delivery. Delivery is the physical act of opening the floodgates. Your high-value product or rare insight must be actively pushed out into the marketplace to initiate the reaction. The equation is entirely rigid. Wealth transfer only initiates when high value and broad leverage are finally triggered by the mechanism of delivery. When these three elements are combined, the machine comes to life. By increasing your height, widening your leverage, and executing delivery, you create an aggressive, unstoppable downward current of resources. Compare this operational engine to the person sprinting after individual bills. One relies on exhausting daily effort, while the other relies on gravity. The builder of this machine does not stand at the bottom of the waterfall with a bucket, desperately trying to catch the spray. They spend all of their time at the top of the precipice, safely engineering the system, observing the mechanics, and constantly adjusting the width and height of the channel. Cease the direct, exhausting pursuit of cash itself. Chasing it with your bare hands is a completely futile and physically draining exercise. Dedicate your energy to building the structure. Elevate your value, widen your leverage, and push it into the market. The sheer laws of economic physics will handle the rest.